You're listening to the Acadiana's Morning News Podcast, brought to you by LABI and always on KPEL965.com.
Actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Faith House has been Acadiana's safe haven since 1981 for victims suffering from violent or aggressive behavior in the home. This includes physical, emotional, financial, or sexual violence. We provide shelter, safety, advocacy, and resources to survivors and their children to empower them to break the cycle of abuse. Domestic violence affects 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men in their lifetime. In 2016, Faith House opened the Family Justice Center located downtown Lafayette, which houses law enforcement, prosecutors, civil legal services, and advocates under one roof to expedite the response time to domestic violence and reduce homicide rates. If you or someone you know is in need of assistance, please call our crisis line at 888-411-1333 to speak to an advocate. If you would like to support our mission, find us on Facebook under Faith House Acadiana or our website, faithhouseacadiana.com. On behalf of the survivors and children we serve, thank you for 39 years of care for those hurting in our community.
I love this song! I love nachos.
Loving everything? You might be buzzed.
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
For those fortunate enough to help the person who has always been their hero, find the care guides you need to help at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL, Breaux Bridge, Lafayette, broadcasting from the Matthew James Tax and Wealth Management Studios.
Protesters become occupiers. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News at Columbia University in New York City, where the pro-Palestinian demonstration escalated early this morning. Protesters stormed into a building, putting up barricades.
Inside of Hamilton Hall is the office of the Dean of Columbia University, as well as other academic departments.
Fox's Brian Yennis near the Columbia campus, where students had been told yesterday to end an encampment or be suspended.
Whether or not the NYPD is going to be allowed to go in will be a decision, the NYPD says, by Columbia University. We have not heard any chants or cheering or anything like that over the last couple of hours. We have had no official word from Columbia University regarding this next escalation. The only thing we have heard from them was yesterday when they had a presser and said that the students that refused to leave the deadline would be that they had begun suspending folks.
It's one of many protests on college campuses nationwide. Some of the anti-Israel chants being heard, upsetting Jewish students at Columbia. Jessica Schwab tells Fox.
It's terrifying to hear, and I'm part of a larger Jewish community. And there's some kids who haven't been on campus in the last 2 weeks because of the fear.
4 law enforcement officers President Biden has praised as heroes are being mourned in North Carolina, shot and killed outside a home in Charlotte.
They were members of a U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force. This includes members of the U.S. Marshal Service, but also members of law enforcement agencies. They were attempting to serve a warrant for a firearms violation.
Fox's Jonathan Seri. 4 other officers were wounded in the gun battle that also left a suspect dead, a woman and a teenager taken into custody from the home. The president, in his statement after the shooting, also called for stricter gun control laws. Former President Trump will return to court this morning in New York as testimony resumes at his first criminal trial. America's listening to Fox News.
Hey, if you want a firearm that is easy to transport, you got to check out the U.S. Survival Rifle from our friends at Henry Repeating Arms. Now, it is a portable rifle that you can put together, take apart in just minutes. And then when you're not using it, you can store the parts in the little case that it comes in. It's so small you can store it pretty much anywhere, and it's light enough to carry everywhere. Now it comes in black and 2 different camo patterns, and you can pick one up for $300 to $400 depending on the finish. Check out their videos. Go to their website. It's one word, henryusa.com/survival. And while you're there, make sure you order their free catalog. Now, Henry makes more than 200 rifles and shotguns and revolvers, all made in America, all backed by a lifetime satisfaction guarantee and the best customer service in the business. Go to their website, henryusa.com. Get their free catalog. They'll send you free decals and a list of dealers where you are. That's henryusa.com. Free catalog decals for the Henry U.S. Survival Rifle.
While all the protests rage on here in the U.S., a scientist is staging a sit-in in China.
Since Sunday, virologist Zhang Yongzhen has been sitting outside his laboratory in the pouring rain. He and his team have been locked out, the latest in a series of events said to amount to victimization. In January 2020, Zhang was the first scientist to publish a sequence of the COVID-19 virus. The Chinese government has since exerted pressure and control over researchers, allegedly wanting to avoid scrutiny over how it handled the start of the pandemic. Reached by phone, Zhang said it would be inconvenient for him to speak. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
A prosecutor in New York is under scrutiny.
Monroe County District Attorney Sandra Dorley issued a statement on Monday saying, "I failed you in the standards that I hold myself to, and for that, I am so sorry." Dorley was caught on police body cam video cursing at a police officer who tried to give her a speeding ticket last week, telling him to just go away. Police say they clocked Dorley driving 55 miles per hour in a 35 zone. She drove to her home instead of pulling over. And the video also shows Dorley calling Webster's police chief, asking him to tell the officer to leave her alone. Governor Kathy Hochul has ordered a review of the incident. Tom Rigotti, Fox News.
On Wall Street, stock futures down modestly the day after gains. In the NBA playoffs, Jamal Murray, a hero again for Denver.
Murray to try to break the tie. No timeout by the Lakers. They got to go. James, a bump, a feed, a Prince shot. No! Zero's on the clock.
And that ends the season for LeBron James and the Lakers. The defending champion Nuggets advanced with a 108-106 win on TNT. Murray also hit a buzzer-beating game winner in Game 2 for Denver. Oklahoma City also advanced to the second round, completing a sweep of Oklahoma City. Boston beat Miami to go up 3-1 in that series. I'm Dave Anthony, and this is Fox News.
Your 24/7 news source, on air, online, and with the KPEL News app. Now the headlines from the KPEL News Center.
Good morning. I'm Tracy Wertz with a look at news on this Tuesday, April 30th. Louisiana is among several states suing the federal government over new Title IX rules. Attorney General Liz Murrill says the new rules will result in transgender women sharing bathrooms, locker rooms, and perhaps even lodging on overnight field trips with biological girls. During a press conference yesterday, Governor Landry announced that, quote, "we will not comply," end quote, and says the lawsuit aims to protect women and women's sports. State Superintendent of Education, Dr. Cade Brumley, has told public schools to disregard the order to implement the revised rules. President Biden's administration has threatened to withhold federal funding for states that don't abide by the new Title IX guidelines. Legislation to hold a constitutional convention beginning May 20th has advanced from the House Appropriations Committee with a 14-6 vote along party lines. Stonewall Representative Larry Bagley has concerns, including costs to the state. The bill's author, Representative Bo Boye of New Iberia, told committee members the convention would likely cost $63,000 if it wraps up by June 3rd, but that number could grow to $1.5 million if it lasts through mid-July. Boye told the committee that donations could help cover that cost. The House Appropriations Committee also advanced a bill that would raise the driver's license fee by $6 to fund litter abatement. Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser oversees Keep Louisiana Beautiful and says more funding is needed to clean up the state. Currently, $1.50 from license fees goes to litter abatement. Vermilion Parish detectives are trying to identify the body of a man found floating in a canal off West Liberty Farm Road south of Kaplan on Friday. He was sent to a forensics lab to determine how he died, and detectives issued a release Monday requesting that anyone who may have information contact their office. Opelousas High School's state championship title has been reinstated after a hearing on Monday in district court. The school reached an agreement with the LHSAA. The school will keep the trophy, but head coach Jimmy Zachary will remain on probation. Opelousas High was forced to forfeit all its 2023 wins and the championship when the LHSAA ruled they used an ineligible player. An Acadia Parish inmate is charged with felony carnal knowledge of a juvenile and self-mutilation after confessing to a crime that happened in 2013. 36-year-old Dirk Daigle of Church Point then tried to hurt himself because, according to officials, he wanted to move to the medical facility. The attempt was caught on video. No further details have been released in the case. A favored Lafayette Sports Hangout is welcoming customers once again. Pete's on Johnston had closed for 8 months after a fire, but renovations are complete. They reopened the doors yesterday. Customers with the St. Martin Parish Industrial Water Plant are under a boil advisory until further notice. Those customers are mainly in the Catahoula area. The village of Mermentau is also under a boil advisory due to low pressure in the system. Louisiana is one step closer to its first Buc-ee's. The city of Ruston signed a memorandum of understanding Friday detailing the required infrastructure needed. Ruston Mayor Ronnie Walker expressed excitement as the project that has been in the planning stages for 14 months moves forward. Buc-ee's is expected to bring in 15,000 vehicles to stop in the parish daily. The new location should be open sometime next year. That's a look at your news. I'm Tracy Wirtz.
This hour of Acadiana's Morning News has been brought to you by Jani King. The King of Clean has been a leader in the cleaning industry on the Gulf Coast for over 35 years. To find out more about their cleaning and disinfecting services, head to their website at janiking.com.
Prime Energy Solutions is currently offering a free 10-year warranty on air-cooled Kohler generators from now until May 10th. Purchase a home generator from Prime Energy Solutions and never worry about losing power again. Call them for more information or go to primeenergysolutions.com.
Areas of dense morning fog out there this morning with visibility dropping down below a quarter of a mile at times today. Temperatures should sit in the mid-80s once the fog burns off. We're looking at a bit of sunshine out there in the afternoon. Not much of a breeze out there either. Quiet weather through the middle of the week with a return of showers and thunderstorms arriving through Friday. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
We are showing an accident on Ambassador Caffrey this morning. 5100 block of Ambassador Caffrey to be exact. Be careful because it is extremely foggy. Current temperature 62 degrees. Good morning and welcome into Acadiana's Morning News on this Tuesday. Tracy Wirtz, Mark Pope joining you. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning. Wait, is that you? Wait. Let me turn on my fog lights.
Oh, golly.
Ooh, be careful.
I was driving in on I-10 and was right up on the sign that said Ambassador Caffrey exit, because that's where I get off, 1 mile. And I almost missed the exit because it was so foggy.
Yeah.
And I'm not, that is no exaggeration. It was bad. So please be careful.
It affects your depth perception. It affects how far you've traveled, what speed. If you've got common sense, you're going to slow down. It is thick out there, folks.
Yeah.
Be careful, slow down, put on the fog lights if you have them, and take all the precautions.
Wow. Yeah. And no exaggeration there. And it might not be bad like right as you leave, but once you hit, especially those outlying areas, it's bad. So just be careful out there, please, this morning. Today is April 30th. It is National Tie-Dye Day. I wore my tie-dye dress last week. I should have known, right? It is National Adopt a Shelter Pet Day and National Raisin Day. And National, and I'm going to say this on National Sarcoidosis Day because my dad had that years and years ago, and a very dangerous condition.
What is it?
Has to do. It was in his lungs. They're called sarcoids, and yeah. Okay. So anyway,
gotcha.
On this date, and I mention this. I typically don't do anniversaries, but I am mentioning this one. In 1988, Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson got married, and I like to highlight especially celebrity couples who have been married for a long time and seem to have, relatively happy marriages. I mean, all marriages have ups and downs, but that is definitely an anomaly when it comes to being married in Hollywood. Another long married couple, and their anniversary isn't today, is Kevin Bacon and Kyra Sedgwick, who are two of my favorite actors. Anyway, so happy anniversary to Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson. On this date in 1975, the Vietnam War ended as the South Vietnamese capital of Saigon fell to communist forces. On this date in 1803, the United States signed the Louisiana Purchase Agreement. It was bought for the equivalent of $15 million, which is just ridiculous when you consider how massive it was. And then 9 years later, Louisiana became the 18th state of the Union on this date.
Yep.
And finally, in 1789, George Washington took the oath of office in New York as the first president of the United States, because remember, the capital was not in Washington, D.C. at that time. So there you have it. The things that happened on this date in history. If you want to celebrate National Tie-Dye Day or National Raisin Day.
Go get you a pet.
That's
at the shelter.
Adopt.
That was next?
Yeah. Well, thank you for remembering, because I am a big advocate of rescuing versus adopting.
Me too.
How they say that, adopt, don't shop.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot to do this morning. Coming up after the break, we are going to start our conversation, Mark, about this Title IX adjustment that the federal government has made. A press conference yesterday attended by Governor Jeff Landry, Liz Murrill, and Attorney General Liz Murrill, and Louisiana State Superintendent Dr. Cade Brumley, because it has folks up in arms.
Yep.
So anyway, we'll have that discussion. And if you would like to weigh in, of course, we would love to have you do that. Just download the app, send us an app chat, or you can give us a call, 337-232-1542. That's next on KPEL 616.
Fox on Tech.
Vindication for a Baltimore County high school principal who back in January was placed on temporary leave after an alleged audio recording went viral on social media. The voice in the audio was made to sound like Pikestown High School principal Eric Eiswert, with disparaging comments made about black student test scores and Jewish families. But investigators have now found, with help from the FBI, that the recording had been AI generated, manufactured, and spread intentionally as part of a revenge plot. The school's former athletic director, Deshaun Darien, has been arrested and charged with the crime. Police say he made the AI recording to retaliate against the principal for launching an investigation into the potential mishandling of school funds. Eiswert is still employed by the school, but will not immediately return to his position as principal. The hope is to have him reinstated for next school year. With Fox on Tech, Alexandria Hoff, Fox News.
Partly to mostly sunny skies across Acadiana today. Temperatures going to be sitting in the mid-80s. Will probably be about 85 degrees for that high. Not much of a breeze out there from the south at about 5 miles an hour. Overnight lows in the mid to upper 60s. Low 70s the rest of the week. It is going to be a bit warmer here over the next couple of days. Bit of cloud buildup as well as we go through the middle of parts of the week, with showers and thunderstorms returning on Friday. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
We have an accident, the 5100 block of Ambassador Caffrey, so be careful in that area. It's 62 degrees, but weather-wise, as Daniel mentioned, foggy, and let me tell you, you could cut it with a knife. Be careful, please. KPEL News Time is 6:21 on this Tuesday morning. It is April 30th, the very last day of April. We are flying. We are just flying through the year. All over social media, all over the news in Louisiana especially, is the federal government's Title IX regulations that they say provide vital protections against sex discrimination. The final regulations, and this is, again, coming down from the federal government, protect against all sex-based harassment and discrimination, promote accountability and fairness, and empower and support students and families. Again, people are up in arms over this. And yesterday, the governor, the attorney general, and the state superintendent held a press conference in relation to these new Title IX guidelines, because Louisiana is joining a federal lawsuit along with other states, basically to declare these null, saying that this shouldn't happen. Liz Murrill said simply, it is not legal. And the concern is that these regulations will lead to having situations where biological girls and transgender girls are in the same bathroom. They're in locker rooms changing. Liz Murrill said it could even go as far as if there are overnight trips, having them in the same rooms to sleep. Meanwhile, on social media, when the letter came out, parents across Louisiana, at least, have been sharing it and saying, I'm going to homeschool my kid. I'm keeping him out of the public school system, et cetera. And I haven't dived deep enough yet. But based on what I have seen in the new Title IX regulations, they don't go as deep as talking specifically about bathrooms. I think the concern is interpretation and the fact that some of these terms could be subjective, so that it would allow for those things to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It would look. You're trying to change our society. This whole thing about it's no longer just male and female, and that's what this is all about. Title IX was passed in 1972. I would say let Congress intervene and pass a law, but the chances of that happening are not guaranteed. Mm-hmm. We have a divided Congress, and the Biden administration is not. They're not a monarchy. They don't get to just make these rulings. So all I can say is I am glad that Ms. Murrill, she is proving to be an outstanding attorney general, and the other states. Yeah. Are going to actually sue the Biden administration, because this is just over the top crazy. These are big changes, and the basis of Title IX back in 1972 was real simple. Basically, men and women are treated equally in an educational setting,
right?
And a lot of that transferred over to sports, and so I don't know. I'm confused, Tracy.
Oh, yeah. Liz Murrill said in a report on KATC, Murrill said the central feature of the new rules is to transform Title IX. This is a quote, transform Title IX to include discrimination based on gender identity, which she described, as I said, a very ambiguous term. The definition of that is way too subjective. Mm-hmm. But is described in the rule as, quote, a student's subjective and internal sense of his or her gender. And Jeff Landry came out and said, we will not comply. He said, we do not intend to pretend that there is some other kind of sexual category other than what the Almighty has put forth, and that's two of them. The fight is right. The object of this fight is to ensure that we protect women and we protect women's sports. And I think back, Mark, when you talk about locker rooms and that sort of thing, and you remembered her name when we had this discussion. She was a swimmer, I believe, and they were at the college level.
Yes.
And they were in the locker room, and a transgender female walked in who had not fully transitioned, had not had the surgeries, hadn't had all of that. Mm-hmm. And she was very uncomfortable. She said, I just felt weird taking my clothes off in front of this person who is biologically male. I have daughters. If this sort of thing had happened when they were in high school, I would have felt very uncomfortable with it. And let me tell you, young people have a tendency to be a lot more, I'm going to say, open with that sort of thing. But I think that even though that may be the case, I think my girls would agree, especially my oldest daughter, who has a teenage daughter, who, if she was in that situation, likely would say, nah, that'll be a hard no.
Yep.
Yep. And my concern, again, is that the rules are too subjective. And if you're going to have a mandate, then mandate there's a whole separate bathroom and facilities for them.
Yep.
Because I promise you, if that translated to school systems having to spend money, then this would be a much heavier lift for the federal government.
Yeah, well, they probably just pull some of that money that they print, that they say that grows on the money tree. Say, here's your money to solve the problem. The person of whom you spoke is Riley Gaines.
Okay, that's her name.
And she was a swimmer at University of Kentucky, and she is going full bore. She's out there. She's on national news programs, and she's speaking her mind. And congratulations, and I respect that, Miss Gaines, and what you're doing. We need more common sense folks like you.
And I want to make very clear, Mark, that for me, the issue is not how you want to identify. That's I don't think we should impose our personal feelings on someone else. I don't want somebody to tell me I shouldn't be a Catholic. I don't want somebody to tell me whatever. The rub comes because there are two sexes biologically, and each should feel comfortable in the settings that are rightfully assumed to be private and, I'm going to say, sacred for the sake of biological sex. So I just want to make clear that I don't have a problem with your identifying, however. It's when the right to do that, again, crosses over. And we have had that discussion. Where does your right end and mine begin, or vice versa?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Start the transgender league.
Yeah.
And there's not enough numbers. This is a very, very small percentage of the population with this trans stuff. It's just not fair. Look, call me a male chauvinist pig. Men are bigger, stronger, faster than women.
Well, they are.
Not in every case. That is a very broad general statement.
Well, they're
but it is true.
physiologically different. Their muscles are different.
Yes.
Their bodies are built different. And I am 100% not on board with having a transgender female compete in women's sports.
Right.
You don't see it the other way around often.
Yep.
And as a person, I'm just going to be fair, as a person, how can you jump into a sport, claim a victory, when you know that you were not competing on equal footing, period?
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing blows my mind, because here's the thing, is that transgender woman will naturally have more testosterone, which translates to bigger muscles, or again, physiologically it's different. But if a woman takes testosterone to bulk up and do all the things, and basically steroids, and she competes, it's illegal.
Yep.
So Lucy got some splaining to do.
You got some splaining to do, Lucy.
Yeah. We're going to take a break and be right back. KPEL News Time 6:30.
KPEL covers Acadiana with Lowry's Printing and Copying.
The 27th Annual Sunset Urban Garden Festival is Saturday, May 4th, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Marie Street in Sunset. That's across from the old Sunset High School. Native plants and flowers, ferns and tropicals, vegetables and herbs. There's educational opportunities, over 100 vendors, and children's activities. Also, Le Jardin des Enfants, the children's garden. Get more details, call Susie Brunet at 337-322-0129. The Lafayette Genealogical Society has Genealogy 101, a free workshop and roundtable Saturday, May 4th, beginning at 9:30 a.m. at the Lafayette Public Library in downtown Lafayette. Learn all about genealogy and ask your questions and meet other people with an interest in genealogy. To find out about more meetings, go to lalgs.org.
This is House Call for Health. Not your typical skin cancer announcement. Social media influencer, reality TV star Harry Jowsey using a TikTok video to reveal he has it. And why are we seeing more young people with the disease?
Skin cancer they're getting because of too much sun exposure. And I'm so happy to see Harry Jowsey say this on TikTok, of all places, where he has 5 million followers. Wear sunscreen. Be on the lookout. You know, this is hugely important. It's the #1 cancer in the United States.
Fox News health contributor Dr. Mark Siegel.
At NYU, we developed something called ABCDE that gives you a clue what to do. A means asymmetry. One side is different than the other. B means border. Look at the border. Is it irregular? C is what color is it? If it's dark, go to your doctor right away. D is diameter. Is it big? And E is it evolving?
For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
This hour brought to you by Matthew James Tax and Wealth Management. Online at MatthewJames.com.
Your 24/7 news source, on air, online, and with the Cape Hill News app. Now the headlines from the Cape Hill News Center.
Good morning. I'm Tracy Wertz with a look at news on this Tuesday, April 30th. Louisiana is among several states suing the federal government over new Title IX rules. Attorney General Liz Murrill says the new rules will result in transgender women sharing bathrooms, locker rooms, and perhaps even lodging on overnight field trips with biological girls. During a press conference yesterday, Governor Landry announced that, quote, "we will not comply," end quote, and says the lawsuit aims to protect women and women's sports. State Superintendent of Education, Dr. Cade Brumley, has told public schools to disregard the order to implement the revised rules. President Biden's administration has threatened to withhold federal funding for states that don't abide by the new Title IX guidelines. Legislation to hold a constitutional convention beginning May 20th has advanced from the House Appropriations Committee with a 14-6 vote along party lines. Stonewall Representative Larry Bagley has concerns, including costs to the state. The bill's author, Representative Bo Boye of New Iberia, told committee members the convention would likely cost $63,000 if it wraps up by June 3rd, but that number could grow to $1.5 million if it lasts through mid-July. Boye told the committee that donations could help cover that cost. The House Appropriations Committee also advanced a bill that would raise the driver's license fee by $6 to fund litter abatement. Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser oversees Keep Louisiana Beautiful and says more funding is needed to clean up the state. Currently, $1.50 from license fees goes to litter abatement. Vermilion Parish detectives are trying to identify the body of a man found floating in a canal off West Liberty Farm Road south of Kaplan on Friday. He was sent to a forensics lab to determine how he died, and detectives issued a release Monday requesting that anyone who may have information contact their office. Opelousas High School's state championship title has been reinstated after a hearing on Monday in district court. The school reached an agreement with the LHSAA. The school will keep the trophy, but head coach Jimmy Zachary will remain on probation. Opelousas High was forced to forfeit all its 2023 wins and the championship when the LHSAA ruled they used an ineligible player. An Acadia Parish inmate is charged with felony carnal knowledge of a juvenile and self-mutilation after confessing to a crime that happened in 2013. 36-year-old Dirk Daigle of Church Point then tried to hurt himself because, according to officials, he wanted to move to the medical facility. The attempt was caught on video. No further details have been released in the case. A favored Lafayette Sports Hangout is welcoming customers once again. Pete's on Johnston had closed for 8 months after a fire, but renovations are complete. They reopened the doors yesterday. Customers with the St. Martin Parish Industrial Water Plant are under a boil advisory until further notice. Those customers are mainly in the Catahoula area. The village of Mermentau is also under a boil advisory due to low pressure in the system. Louisiana is one step closer to its first Buc-ee's. The city of Ruston signed a memorandum of understanding Friday detailing the required infrastructure needed. Ruston Mayor Ronnie Walker expressed excitement as the project that has been in the planning stages for 14 months moves forward. Buc-ee's is expected to bring in 15,000 vehicles to stop in the parish daily. The new location should be open sometime next year. That's a look at your news. I'm Tracy Wirtz. Party at Rock and Bowl all weekend, starting on Thursday with Kevin Naka and Cajun Preservation. Friday, That 90s Show. Saturday, Michael Scott Boudreaux. And Sunday, Gino Delafosse and French Rock and Boogie. Tickets now at rockandbowl.com. God bless you. God love you. And thank God for... Gentlemen, I want to talk to you for just a moment about shoes. If you're like my husband, you go to the store, you walk around in several pair, you think, okay, these feel great, and then you have to live every day in them and your feet hurt. What if I told you there's a way that you could alleviate that problem? The Good Feet store, been telling you about it for months now, and they could be the answer to sore feet, sore knees, sore hips, sore back. That's right. Remember, I've told you that I've suffered with back pain for years now, probably a quarter of a century. And the Good Feet store has helped me to wake up pain-free some days. I get home in the afternoons. I can still do all of the things I need to do around the house without feeling like, oh my gosh, I need to put my feet up and I need to take my shoes off. The Good Feet store could be the answer for you. You don't have to wait. You just have to pop in. So maybe you have a few minutes between meetings or you're on your way from one place to another. Go by and visit with their knowledgeable staff. Ask all the questions you need. Sore feet could be gone for you. Go by the Good Feet store. They're on Ambassador Caffrey, right next to Chicken Salad Chick. Or you can go read more about them at goodfeet.com. Stop living in shoes and boots that just hurt your feet. You could find the answer at the Good Feet store.
Democracy 24.
While Missouri Republican Congressman Mark Alford is confident former President Trump is the right person to deliver on issues like foreign policy,
we have to be ready. We have to be tougher. That's why we need Donald Trump back in the White House.
A Monmouth University poll shows voters aren't so sold on the former president, President Biden, or independent candidate Robert Kennedy Jr. The poll shows just 32% of voters would definitely vote for the president, while 11% would probably vote for him. Those numbers are relatively similar for former President Trump at 30% and 14%. About half of those surveyed say they would definitely not vote for either candidate, which are numbers that haven't changed much since the fall. Only 35% of voters have a favorable opinion of Robert Kennedy Jr. Inflation and the economy polled as the top issues for voters, with immigration and abortion also at the top of the list. In Washington, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
Areas of dense morning fog out there this morning, with visibility dropping down below a quarter of a mile at times today. Temperatures should sit in the mid-80s once the fog burns off. We're looking at a bit of sunshine out there in the afternoon. Not much of a breeze out there either. Quiet weather through the middle of the week, with a return of showers and thunderstorms arriving through Friday. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
All right, taking a look at traffic this morning. Still showing that accident in the 5100 block of Ambassador Caffrey. Be careful in that area. It's 62 degrees and extremely foggy. Please be careful as you head out this morning. KPEL News Time is 6:42 on this Tuesday morning. Good morning. Tracy Wirtz, Mark Pope joining you. Thank you for joining us. And we talked about, prior to the news, the new Title IX regulations that came out from the federal government. And they are saying that if states don't comply, then federal dollars are at risk. Excuse me. As I've read through this, the overarching theme of Title IX is essentially sex discrimination and protecting people who of the LGBT plus Q plus community. It also protects against any discrimination for students who might be pregnant. And I have a whole different story for a whole different day. Well, I guess I could tell it. I had a child in high school, and there were some members of the administration that wanted me to leave, and my parents fought really hard, and I finished at the top of my class. And so I understand how that could affect a student. But I was biologically female, and what was going on was biological. It wasn't something that was self-determined from a, I mean, just it was nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
The argument for or against inclusion and discrimination based on sex in all its forms. I understand not bullying, not making people feel marginalized. I don't have a problem with that. The problem is, again, as we talked about before the break, where your rights end and mine begin, or vice versa. And while the rules don't specifically talk about bathrooms, facilities, that sort of thing, Liz Murrill and Governor Jeff Landry and the other states that are involved in this lawsuit are concerned that the rules are too ambiguous and too open to interpretation. And in terms of the key provisions of the Department of Education's 2024 Title IX final rule, there's one particular section that jumps out, and I wonder if this is where they were landing. And it's in relation to sex separation and different treatment. And according to the document, it says, clarifies that a recipient must not separate or treat any person differently based on sex in a manner that subjects them to more than, I have no idea, you'll have to look this up for me, Mark, de minimis harm, except in the limited specified circumstances permitted by Title IX. It recognizes that preventing a person from participating in a recipient's education program or activity consistent with their gender identity subjects that person to more than de minimis harm. That phrase right there is open to a lot of interpretation, recognizing that preventing a person from participating in a recipient's education program or activity consistent with their gender identity subjects them to harm.
Yeah, I was looking up something else. I would. My guess is diminutive means like he's a diminutive meaning smaller.
De minimis, not diminutive.
I know diminutive, but I don't know. But anyway, harm is the key word in that phrase. But yeah, interesting.
And because when you read it, it's very. It seems to be very broad, and it appears that it is more aimed toward discrimination. But how do you or harassment? How do you define discrimination? What does that mean? What are the schools supposed to do? And more importantly, what interpretations are there? If I run a school or a school system and I say biological males have to use this bathroom and biological females have to use this bathroom, and I don't allow them to cross over, then I risk losing federal funding.
Right. Look, I think you're laying it out well, and let me follow what you said. Okay. I agree with you. You want to be the transgender thing? Fine. Live your life. Leave me alone. Don't bring me into it. I'm not going to celebrate you. I will respect you as a human being, but don't force me into that. That's the problem we have in this society. This is as simple as it gets. This going back to 1972, Title IX gives women athletes the right to equal opportunity in sports. A woman is a woman and a man is a man. Trying to bring this into sports and bringing, quote, transgender athletes. And think about it. How many women, I don't know, what would you call them? A trans woman? A woman who calls herself male? How many of those have we seen? How many women have we seen going and saying, I want to play football. I want to be the right tackle on the Iowa State football team. Oh, yeah? So it's madness in my view.
And so we will see what happens. I think that this lawsuit, this fight has just begun, and we'll see if the United States Department of Education shifts their stance in any way, or at least provides more clarity as to their intentions and recognizes the discomfort of some parents. KPEL News Time is 6:49.
Bullet points.
I'm Eben Brown. Guess which city is seeing a giant spike in the number of people applying for firearms permits? New York City, the one whose restrictive carry laws and permitting standards were rejected by the U.S. Supreme Court and who's now fighting in the Supreme Court yet again to uphold additional gun restrictions created after the previous ones were overturned. More than 13,000 New Yorkers applied for pistol permits in 2023. That's a little less than double from 2022. And more than 3,000 have applied in the first few months of this year alone. So why do so many people want to legally own a gun in New York City? Mayor Eric Adams can't say, but it's been lucrative so far. The NYPD charges more than $300 to process a permit. That's at least $200 more than the initial fee in Florida. New York City will make more than $6 million this fiscal year. And those are your bullet points. I'm Eben Brown, Fox News.
Media Minute with Howard Kurtz.
With saturation media coverage, Columbia University set a 2 p.m. deadline yesterday for protesters to take down their tents. They defied the deadline, did nothing. Columbia later said it was suspending some of those students. Last January, a protest leader, Kaimani James, told university officials Zionists don't deserve to live. What did the school do? Nothing. Covered it up until this video resurfaced last week. Now Columbia expressing outrage. And Donald Trump and some Republicans are blaming President Biden for letting these anti-Semitic protests spread out of control. Meanwhile, Democrats are stressing free speech and peaceful protest. I'm all for peaceful protest. But at USC yesterday, a Jewish student tried to go to class, was blocked by all these pro-Gaza protesters. A security guard did nothing. That is not just peaceful protest. With your Media Minute, Howie Kurtz, Fox News.
Partly to mostly sunny skies across Acadiana today. Temperatures going to be sitting in the mid-80s. Will probably be about 85 degrees for that high. Not much of a breeze out there from the south at about 5 miles an hour. Overnight lows in the mid to upper 60s. Low 70s the rest of the week. It is going to be a bit warmer here over the next couple of days. Bit of cloud buildup as well as we go through the middle of parts of the week, with showers and thunderstorms returning on Friday. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
Still working that accident 5100 block of Ambassador Caffrey Parkway. That's actually Ambassador near its intersection with Vero School Road. Hopefully it's been moved off the roadway. Also showing a traffic signal malfunction, 6900 block of Ambassador Caffrey. That is the light right there at St. Bernard. So if you come upon it and the light is not working, treat it as a four-way. Current temperature 62 degrees, very foggy out there. KPEL News Time is 6:54 on this Tuesday morning. Good morning. It's Tracy Wirtz and Mark Pope joining you. Today, Mark, a huge event going on. It's Lita's Job Fair, and it is one of the, if not the biggest job fair in Acadiana.
Well, our can't think of the gentleman's name right
Ryan?
off top. Yes, Ryan. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ryan Lagrange. It is the biggest job fair in the state of Louisiana.
Oh, really?
Okay, so good morning to you, good morning to the listeners, and good morning to Thomas Gosson. I'm sure he has us on in his vehicle out there, Troopers Thomas Gosson. And I am sure that the Louisiana State Police will be at this job fair. So here are the nuts and the bolts, Tracy.
Well, you know what? Hang on, Mark. If they will be, there's a list at our website because there are over 120
127
businesses who will be there, and it's not just one position per business. There are multiple
could be multiple
positions.
This is huge, and as Ryan Lagrange told us, he's the director of workforce development. Lita Job Fair today in Lafayette. Everybody's invited. He said they are serving. They're looking at Acadiana and beyond. Everybody is welcome. It's 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Cajun Dome Convention Center. There is no cost. Bring yourself, dress professionally. If you have a resume, hopefully you have a resume, bring it. And, man, you can't – I wish I had that when I was graduating from USL.
Well, yeah, or
back in the
even
day.
somebody looking to advance their career or change careers. A lot of folks, with COVID still haven't found their footing because they lost their jobs. Acadian companies, Boys and Girls Clubs of Acadiana, medical providers, oil field service companies. The list is fantastic.
Tech companies, yes.
Yeah, I mean, go to our website and check it out. You can pre-register if you'd like. Also, they have links to apply online with these companies if you'd like. KPEL News Time is 6:57.
The Fox Business Report is brought to you by Gulf Coast Bank, your local community bank. Whether your financial needs are for an individual, a business, or for the whole family, Gulf Coast Bank has the knowledge and products to serve you best. With 9 convenient locations throughout Acadiana, you're never far from a friendly Gulf Coast Bank associate.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Walmart is launching a new brand which appears to take on dollar stores and appeal to shoppers looking to fight inflation. Prices range from under $2 to under $15, with most items priced under $5. It's planning to sell a variety of food items, everything from plant-based mozzarella to soups and coffee to chicken wings and salsa. There are plant-based products, gluten-free items, and those made without artificial flavors, colorings, or added sugars. Tesla CEO Elon Musk is cutting jobs again. The Information is reporting that Musk has dismissed 2 senior executives from the company's supercharger business and has plans to lay off roughly 500 employees in that unit and others. The Federal Reserve's 2-day meeting begins today. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola. Invested in you.
The elites want more control through digital currencies in a cashless society. This is Stephen K. Bannon, and I believe gold is the answer to safeguard your wealth, especially if you own your gold inside of a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting SHELTER to 989898. Birch Gold is the only gold company I trust. So text SHELTER to the number 989898 to claim your free info kit today.
Message and data rates may be sold.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL, Breaux Bridge, Lafayette, broadcasting from the Matthew James Tax and Wealth Management Studios.
This is a Fox News alert. Police confronting protesters on college campuses this morning. I'm Dave Anthony. That's at the University of North Carolina a short time ago, where arrests are reported, while at Yale University in Connecticut, police tape's been put up around a pro-Palestinian tent encampment with arrests and suspensions threatened. But at Columbia University in New York City, protesters took over a building early this morning.
The most remarkable scene that I saw was someone smashing the windows of the doorway of Hamilton Hall in with a hammer, almost like a scene from The Shining.
That's Columbia student Jessica Schwab, who says Jews on campus are in fear as protesters remain barricaded inside that building.
With sleeping bags and backpacks, and they say they're going to stay there unless their demands are met, which is divestment from Israel, transparency over how Columbia is investing their money, and this is another one. They want universal amnesty. They don't want to face any discipline at all for what the last couple of weeks of protests, in particular, obviously now, which has escalated with this occupation of Hamilton Hall, which is home to the dean's office and undergraduate admissions.
Fox's Brian Yennis near the Columbia campus. This as talks in Egypt continue trying to broker a ceasefire in Gaza between Israel and Hamas. But Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu again just vowed they will invade Rafah to root militants out. An operation the U.S. has warned against in that area of Gaza, filled with Palestinian civilians who fled other war zones. 4 law enforcement officers are being mourned in North Carolina.
It's going to take a while to get through this, but we're a resilient team here in Charlotte.
That's Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Chief Johnny Jennings. He says it happened yesterday as officers were trying to make an arrest.
He had a high-powered automatic rifle that he was able to start open fire on our officers.
4 officers killed, 4 wounded. That suspect was killed in return fire. America's listening to Fox News.
Hey, if you want a firearm that is easy to transport, you got to check out the U.S. Survival Rifle from our friends at Henry Repeating Arms. Now, it is a portable rifle that you can put together, take apart in just minutes. And then when you're not using it, you can store the parts in the little case that it comes in. It's so small you can store it pretty much anywhere, and it's light enough to carry everywhere. Now, it comes in black and 2 different camo patterns, and you can pick one up for $300 to $400 depending on the finish. Check out their videos. Go to their website. It's one word, henryusa.com/survival. And while you're there, make sure you order their free catalog. Now, Henry makes more than 200 rifles and shotguns and revolvers, all made in America, all backed by a lifetime satisfaction guarantee and the best customer service in the business. Go to their website, henryusa.com. Get their free catalog. They'll send you free decals and a list of dealers where you are. That's henryusa.com. Free catalog decals for the Henry U.S. Survival.
Your 24/7 news source, on air, online, and with the Cape Hill News app. Now the headlines from the Cape Hill News Center.
Good morning. I'm Tracy Wertz with a look at news on this Tuesday, April 30th. Louisiana is among several states suing the federal government over new Title IX rules. Attorney General Liz Murrill says the new rules will result in transgender women sharing bathrooms, locker rooms, and perhaps even lodging on overnight field trips with biological girls. During a press conference yesterday, Governor Landry announced that, quote, "we will not comply," end quote, and says the lawsuit aims to protect women and women's sports. State Superintendent of Education, Dr. Cade Brumley, has told public schools to disregard the order to implement the revised rules. President Biden's administration has threatened to withhold federal funding for states that don't abide by the new Title IX guidelines. Legislation to hold a constitutional convention beginning May 20th has advanced from the House Appropriations Committee with a 14-6 vote along party lines. Stonewall Representative Larry Bagley has concerns, including costs to the state. The bill's author, Representative Bo Boye of New Iberia, told committee members the convention would likely cost $63,000 if it wraps up by June 3rd, but that number could grow to $1.5 million if it lasts through mid-July. Boye told the committee that donations could help cover that cost. The House Appropriations Committee also advanced a bill that would raise the driver's license fee by $6 to fund litter abatement. Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser oversees Keep Louisiana Beautiful and says more funding is needed to clean up the state. Currently, $1.50 from license fees goes to litter abatement. Vermilion Parish detectives are trying to identify the body of a man found floating in a canal off West Liberty Farm Road south of Kaplan on Friday. He was sent to a forensics lab to determine how he died, and detectives issued a release Monday requesting that anyone who may have information contact their office. Opelousas High School's state championship title has been reinstated after a hearing on Monday in district court. The school reached an agreement with the LHSAA. The school will keep the trophy, but head coach Jimmy Zachary will remain on probation. Opelousas High was forced to forfeit all its 2023 wins and the championship when the LHSAA ruled they used an ineligible player. A favored Lafayette Sports Hangout is welcoming customers once again. Pete's on Johnston had closed for 8 months after a fire, but renovations are complete. They reopened the doors yesterday. That's a look at your news. I'm Tracy Wertz. Your KPEL News Update brought to you by Home Furniture Plus Bedding, with over 40,000 furniture and mattress choices in stock and ready for delivery. Home Furniture Plus Bedding. Welcome home.
Areas of dense morning fog out there this morning, with visibility dropping down below a quarter of a mile at times today. Temperatures should sit in the mid-80s once the fog burns off. We're looking at a bit of sunshine out there in the afternoon. Not much of a breeze out there either. Quiet weather through the middle of the week, with a return of showers and thunderstorms arriving through Friday. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
Okie dokie. We are still seeing that accident, Ambassador Caffrey, near its intersection with Vero School Road. So be careful. It may have been moved off the roadway. Current temperature outside in all this fog is getting an updated temperature now. 60 degrees. Be careful. KPEL News Time 7:08.
Can you see God's early light was so brightly revealed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets recognize the bombs bursting in us and gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the
Good morning and welcome back into Acadiana's Morning News. KBL News Time 7:11. Tracy Wertz, Mark Pope joining you. And it's Tuesday. That means it's Trooper Tuesday. Trooper Thomas Gosson in-house this morning. Good morning. It's nice to have you. Could
Finally,
you see through
it's
all this
It's been
fog?
a while, right?
Yeah.
It actually, I know you came in a lot earlier
Oh,
than
my
I did.
gosh. It was bad.
It wasn't quite as bad this time. It's kind of lightening up. So
Okay, good.
I
Good
was
to
glad
know.
to hear that. Did cross a few cars with no lights on. Look, it's really hard to see. Even if you're coming up to the car or you're going to switch lanes and you're using those side mirrors, it is extremely difficult to see you people. So please be seen by putting those headlights on.
It was, I've been driving early in the morning at zero dark 30, like I call it, for a long time. And I can probably count on one hand the number of times it was as bad as it was this morning.
that bad?
It was, oh, yeah. I was telling Mark earlier, I came up on the sign where it says Ambassador Caffrey 1 mile, and I was on top of it. And when I got to the exit, it was all of a sudden there.
There.
I could not see anything. And typically what I do when it's really foggy is I find an 18-wheeler to follow because I can always see their lights.
Yep, and it takes him a lot longer to stop.
Right, and they have a tendency to be a lot more careful. So
You're
that's
right.
been my modus operandi as I
I
work
do
through
not
it.
like to drive in the fog. I tell you that. That is my least favorite. That is so dangerous. I agree.
It was scary. It really was
It's stressful.
scary.
It really is. It's stressful. So minimize that stress by keeping those headlights on. Be seen, right? Number one. Number two, put your seatbelt on, right? I mean, what is? I brought some statistics on seatbelts, right? And one of the things that was questions was, what is your best defense against a drunk driver? A seatbelt, right? Because you can't necessarily always stop the crash from occurring, but you can minimize the injuries from that crash, right? And it's the same thing
it's
in
true.
fog.
Well, and I hearken back, and I haven't told you this story, but I'll tell it real quickly on the air because it's absolutely illustrative of how seatbelts save lives. Excuse me. Probably about 30 years ago, my mom worked out in Richard, and she would and you'll know where it is. Yep. When you come off 1111, there's a T in the Roberts Cove area, just north of Rain. Yep. It was really, really foggy. And kind of like this morning. Well, it's where you come to that. You come around that curve, and there's a T. Well, Mom ran the stop sign because she missed it. She had gone that way several times, but you get disoriented in the fog. And her car literally laid in the ditch. She jumped it in the car, laid in the ditch. And By the way, the trooper followed her to the hospital and gave her a ticket while she was laying in the bed. Anyway, but she, in the hospital, she had a lipstick imprint on her chest. When the car landed, her head flew forward, but her seatbelt kept her in the car. And they told her, had you not been wearing your seatbelt, you'd gone through the windshield.
No doubt.
And so, while, and thankfully she wasn't hurt seriously. Obviously her neck hurt. But I will never forget that because I had never been so thankful for a seatbelt in my life because there's no doubt in my mind that it saved the life of my mother.
When we say you go through the windshield, people think, yeah, right. No, yeah, really. I mean,
an object in motion stays in motion.
Weight times speed. Weight times speed. Your speed times your weight. Do that in your head real quick. It's crazy the amount of forces you build up, you generate. So yes, you do. It takes about roughly just under 500 pounds of force to break a windshield, to shatter a windshield, right? It concentrated, obviously, by the head is a lot more force in one area. So that's what you're doing. You're spreading out those forces with that seatbelt. It's slowing you down. You're riding that crash down as opposed to, I know it looks fast, and it is, but the seatbelt actually stretches and helps you slow down in that somewhat, right? Much slower than hitting the windshield, hitting the steering wheel. And one of the things that was brought up was, what if I'm pregnant or kind of oversized? How do I wear that seatbelt, or do I put it above my belly? No, you always want to put that lap belt low, below the belly, under the belly line. Never not wear it. Some of the arguments are, well, I have an airbag. I don't really need it. Well, no, because, in your mom's case.
Yeah, well, she did. I mean, again, it was like 25, 30 years ago.
Right, maybe before. But I've been to so many crashes where there's been no seatbelts, no airbags that go off. Airbags are not a guarantee. You have to hit the sensor for that airbag to come off, number one. Number two, it's only going to come out one time. There can be multiple crashes in a single crash. Even a single vehicle crash that have multiple crashes. I hit a ditch, I flip over, I hit a tree, I tumble, so that airbag's there one time and it's gone. That's it. So it's your only chance. That seatbelt's going to stay there the whole time if you're wearing it properly, though, right? I mean, if you're wearing it under your arm, obviously you're changing the dynamics of it. There's nothing holding you down. It's not over your shoulder, forcing you to stay seated. You can be thrown up into the roof through a sunroof. I've seen that happen before, and I hate to get all graphic about it, but I need people to understand the reality of it.
I don't know that there's any other way than to get graphic because there's people out there right now driving around going, I don't want to wear as much.
Right.
Well, and I always go back to, it's not just about you. It's about the troopers, the police officers who have to.
Your family.
Yeah, no kidding. If that's not an issue, it's about, I can't imagine being a law enforcement officer and coming up on that and seeing it and thinking we shouldn't have to be calling the coroner.
To really put it in explicit terms, to say, a lot of people say, I would die for my family, and I would do anything for my family. How about you live for them? How about you put your seatbelt on for them and live for them, because they're dependent on you possibly, but yet you're not going to wear a seatbelt because you don't like it touching your neck or whatever. It's too inconvenient. I think we just need to put that in perspective, because the number of crashes we go to is actually half of the people that died, especially in 2022. Half the people that died did not have a seatbelt on. That's occupants in a vehicle, right? Makes no sense.
Yeah. I'm going to do something I don't like to do, but I'm going to play a physicist on the radio. So you're going along at high speed and you have no seatbelt on, and you talked about going through the windshield, which can and has happened on a regular basis. So in that airbag, it's not this little balloon that comes out. No. It comes out with great force. So if you do not have a seatbelt on and you get in that crash, you're going forward, and that airbag is coming out with great force. And so, you're looking at neck injury. Whereas if you had that seatbelt, you're only going forward a certain degree, and that airbag is going to come out and not do harm to your face and your neck and your whole alignment.
Okay, but it goes to this as well, Mark. The seatbelt is not made, or the airbag is not made to take the place of the seatbelt. It's made to complement the seatbelt. It's a SRS, supplemental restraint system. So it's important to understand the airbag's going to be there, right? It pops out way before you even start to move, but you can still hit that airbag and ride up and forward where you're hitting the top of the windshield, because that doesn't prevent you from necessarily hitting your head up high because the forces are kind of forcing you up and
it's the
up and over.
mechanics.
The mechanics of it, right? So the seatbelt's going to hold you in, right, like you said, where it's a much less violent. Less violent. I don't want to say soft because that's not it.
No, right?
But less violent, right?
And
wear your doggone seatbelt.
I'm sure there's great research that goes into those airbags, over
Can you
and
imagine?
over and over because they're, like you said, supplemental. They're made to work together. You have that seatbelt on, which holds your body by only going forward a certain a degree, if you will, and then that airbag comes out. And, that airbag, I have seen pictures of people injured by that airbag coming out, and they probably weren't wearing a seatbelt.
Yeah, I've seen very, very few injuries because of the airbag personally. I'm just telling you what I've seen personally. I've seen a lot of major injury and death due to no seatbelt, period. No seatbelt at all.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're going to take a break and be right back. Some stuff happened in New Orleans yesterday we're going to talk to the trooper about and tell you why that matters. KPEL News Time, 7:20.
I'm Eben Brown. Guess which city is seeing a giant spike in the number of people applying for firearms permits? New York City, the one whose restrictive carry laws and permitting standards were rejected by the U.S. Supreme Court and who's now fighting in the Supreme Court yet again to uphold additional gun restrictions created after the previous ones were overturned. More than 13,000 New Yorkers applied for pistol permits in 2023. That's a little less than double from 2022. And more than 3,000 have applied in the first few months of this year alone. So why do so many people want to legally own a gun in New York City? Mayor Eric Adams can't say, but it's been lucrative so far. The NYPD charges more than $300 to process a permit. That's at least $200 more than the initial fee in Florida. New York City will make more than $6 million this fiscal year. And those are your bullet points. I'm Eben Brown, Fox News.
Partly to mostly sunny skies across Acadiana today. Temperatures going to be sitting in the mid-80s. Will probably be about 85 degrees for that high. Not much of a breeze out there from the south at about 5 miles an hour. Overnight lows in the mid to upper 60s. Low 70s the rest of the week. It is going to be a bit warmer here over the next couple of days. Bit of cloud buildup as well as we go through the middle of parts of the week, with showers and thunderstorms returning on Friday. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
KPEL News Time is 7:24, 60 degrees on this Tuesday morning. It is April the 30th. Tracy Wertz, Mark Pope joining you. And, of course, joining us, Trooper Thomas Gosson, as he does each and every Tuesday morning in the 7 o'clock hour. And it's been in our Fox News. We have some features about it this morning. What am I talking about? The pro-Palestinian protests going on. Somebody's here. Is that what you would? Okay, I'm gonna click the door. I thought something was going on, or a wasp was flying around and getting.
It's like a fort in this building.
Oh, yeah.
You can't get in.
Yeah. Well, and that's in response, just real quickly, to a few years ago when, members of the media were just getting shot.
Right. No, I agree.
So we lock the doors.
Anytime you have opinions, now you have to have safety.
Well, and just
right?
we have 7 stations in this building, and so if they don't like what they hear, not that it would happen, but you just never know. You just never know. So anyway, if you come to the station, you got to ring the doorbell. Back to pro-Palestinian protests going on across the country, and I found online a map of where these protests are occurring across the country, and this was as of yesterday. And what's interesting is here in Louisiana, the map is showing that we have protests at both LSU and at Tulane.
I hadn't heard of LSU.
Yeah, me either.
I did hear of Tulane. I know that we had to send some resources there yesterday evening.
Yeah.
To assist. We have 2 troops in New Orleans, right? Troop B and Troop NOLA, which used to be Troop N, now it's Troop NOLA, which is more in the downtown French Quarter area.
Smart.
right? So so I know that they sent a lot of resources there last night to assist Tulane PD with that, which at the time pulled people off the road, which the sheriff's office in that area actually started handling calls for us on the road.
Now, they were pro-Palestinian and counter-protest?
My understanding is that there were both.
Okay. Peaceful, not peaceful?
I didn't. It didn't sound like it was terribly peaceful.
Okay.
At times, right?
Okay.
I don't know any specifics. I don't want to get into any of that stuff that I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But for them to call for help and want it quickly, I'm assuming not.
All right. Now, when you deal with protests of any kind, I mean, this or others, if it's peaceful, you just kind of stand and watch and
Right.
make sure?
Right.
Okay.
Correct. As long as there's no laws being broken, you let people do, which I'm in full agreement with, right?
It's a First Amendment right.
Right, absolutely. And we support that right. Unfortunately, you have to do it by the law, right? So
Right.
where you're not basically taking someone else's rights away by you doing what you're doing. So that's kind of what we focus on. I used to be part of the Mobile Field Force unit when I was on the road, which would handle things like this. And look, again, and our guys say that, our leadership says that. Look, they have the right to do what they're doing, which is good. We just need to make sure that nobody gets hurt while we're doing it. That's it. I mean, right, we support their efforts. We support their want to do this and their rights to do this, but you got to do it the right way.
Right.
And that's the key.
And I know at Columbia, they had some major issues going on there. There's just been escalation in terms of that particular protest. Hopefully they were able to get the one in New Orleans under control. And again, peaceful protests, that's our right as American citizens. But we certainly don't have a right to get violent about it.
No, absolutely not. Right. At
Yeah.
that point, you're taking someone else's right away.
Thank you so much for
You're
joining
welcome.
us today.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to see you.
So hopefully people show up to the Leader Job Fair, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
To do that.
yes.
We should have people there. We have a recruiting section now, so they focus just on. Used to wear a couple of hats here as far as for public affairs and recruiting. Now we have just a recruiting section, so that it's a little bit more efficient and you can get answers more quickly that way. And so we encourage people to go by the booth and see what Louisiana State Police has to offer.
Yeah, a lot of law enforcement agencies, by the way, are going to be
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. So if you're interested, that's your place to go and to compare and talk and see what we offer.
Yeah, job fairs a lot of times are about that, fact finding. Go
It is,
see what
right.
interests
See,
you.
Look, I like going to the job fairs just to walk around myself, just to see. Like, I didn't even realize this type of job existed, or
Right, right.
there's so many things out there. So I encourage people to go if you're thinking about. Or look, I don't know why more people at UL, the kids, don't take advantage of this and just walk around and see what sparks your interest and find out what jobs are out there.
No kidding.
But and UL does a great job promoting job fairs. They have job fairs over there all the time for the kids, and it's just. I don't see as many kids come through as I really would like.
Right. This particular one is what, at the Cajun Dome, Mark?
Cajun Dome
Convention Center.
Convention Center, biggest in the state, 127 employers.
Huge. Yes.
9 to 1 p.m. It's free. You can walk in off the street, just dress professionally, have your resume. So many opportunities.
Look, I think people don't understand the first impression.
Oh my
rule.
yes. Which
you
is
only
why
make a
nobody
first-
should come see me in the morning.
No, but I've been to these job fairs. I go and we used to be part of recruiting. So, and people would come by and it's like, I would not wear that anywhere to a grocery store. Why are you wearing this to a job fair?
Right.
And I know people are like, well, I just want to be me. I understand that, but when I hire you, you're now representing me if I'm a private company.
Well, there's decorum, and let me tell you what, there are societal rules,
Yes.
and
Right.
and you have the right to dress however you want, and I have the right to not hire you. I mean, that's just the bottom
Look,
line.
we wear uniforms for a reason.
Yeah,
you
we
know?
have the list, by the way, of most of the companies that will be at the job fair today. There have been others added, and if you want to read more about each job, you can. We have all the links at kpel965.com and on our app. Thomas, have a great
Thank
rest
you.
of the week.
You too.
KPEL News Time, 7:31. This hour brought to you by Matthew James Tax and Wealth Management. Online at MatthewJames.com.
Your 24/7 news source, on air, online, and with the KPEL News app. Now the headlines from the KPEL News Center.
Good morning. I'm Tracy Wertz with a look at news on this Tuesday, April 30th. Louisiana is among several states suing the federal government over new Title IX rules. Attorney General Liz Murrill says the new rules will result in transgender women sharing bathrooms, locker rooms, and perhaps even lodging on overnight field trips with biological girls. During a press conference yesterday, Governor Landry announced that, quote, "we will not comply," end quote, and says the lawsuit aims to protect women and women's sports. State Superintendent of Education, Dr. Cade Brumley, has told public schools to disregard the order to implement the revised rules. President Biden's administration has threatened to withhold federal funding for states that don't abide by the new Title IX guidelines. Legislation to hold a constitutional convention beginning May 20th has advanced from the House Appropriations Committee with a 14-6 vote along party lines. Stonewall Representative Larry Bagley has concerns, including costs to the state. The bill's author, Representative Bo Boye of New Iberia, told committee members the convention would likely cost $63,000 if it wraps up by June 3rd, but that number could grow to $1.5 million if it lasts through mid-July. Boye told the committee that donations could help cover that cost. The House Appropriations Committee also advanced a bill that would raise the driver's license fee by $6 to fund litter abatement. Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser oversees Keep Louisiana Beautiful and says more funding is needed to clean up the state. Currently, $1.50 from license fees goes to litter abatement. Vermilion Parish detectives are trying to identify the body of a man found floating in a canal off West Liberty Farm Road south of Kaplan on Friday. He was sent to a forensics lab to determine how he died, and detectives issued a release Monday requesting that anyone who may have information contact their office. Opelousas High School's state championship title has been reinstated after a hearing on Monday in district court. The school reached an agreement with the LHSAA. The school will keep the trophy, but head coach Jimmy Zachary will remain on probation. Opelousas High was forced to forfeit all its 2023 wins and the championship when the LHSAA ruled they used an ineligible player. An Acadia Parish inmate is charged with felony carnal knowledge of a juvenile and self-mutilation after confessing to a crime that happened in 2013. 36-year-old Dirk Daigle of Church Point then tried to hurt himself because, according to officials, he wanted to move to the medical facility. The attempt was caught on video. No further details have been released in the case. A favored Lafayette Sports Hangout is welcoming customers once again. Pete's on Johnston had closed for 8 months after a fire, but renovations are complete. They reopened the doors yesterday. Customers with the St. Martin Parish Industrial Water Plant are under a boil advisory until further notice. Those customers are mainly in the Catahoula area. The village of Mermentau is also under a boil advisory due to low pressure in the system. Louisiana is one step closer to its first Buc-ee's. The city of Ruston signed a memorandum of understanding Friday detailing the required infrastructure needed. Ruston Mayor Ronnie Walker expressed excitement as the project that has been in the planning stages for 14 months moves forward. Buc-ee's is expected to bring in 15,000 vehicles to stop in the parish daily. The new location should be open sometime next year. That's a look at your news. I'm Tracy Wirt.
Areas of dense morning fog out there this morning with visibility dropping down below a quarter of a mile at times today. Temperatures should sit in the mid-80s once the fog burns off. We're looking at a bit of sunshine out there in the afternoon. Not much of a breeze out there either. Quiet weather through the middle of the week with a return of showers and thunderstorms arriving through Friday. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
We have an accident, Chemin Metairie, just north of, or just south rather, of its intersection with Fortune Road. Another accident on Tolson Road near its intersection with Sarah D. Parkway, which is just north of Bonan Road. So be careful in those areas. Other than that, looks to be all clear. Please be careful. That fog is ridiculous. Current temperature is 60 degrees. Good morning and welcome back into Acadiana's morning news. KPEL News Time is 7:40 on this Tuesday, and it's time to talk real estate. We've got Walter Campbell and Deborah Pearson from Keller Williams. And good morning, first of all.
Good morning.
You guys made it in through the fog. You kinda
We
swam
did.
through, yeah.
We did.
You got some data to share with us today, Walter. What is that about?
I have a question for Deborah Pierce.
Uh-oh.
Deborah, how's the market?
The market is great, Walter. Why do you ask?
Exactly. That's one of the things that we say a lot at our company, Keller Williams, because the market is always great if you're getting up every morning and going to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I actually have a lot of stats today about Acadiana and about Lafayette.
Okay.
That Deb and I are going to share with our listeners, because people ask us all the time, how's the market doing?
Uh-huh.
Well, this is the actual data.
Right.
So, and there's some really good news in there, I
Okay.
think. So let's get started with Acadiana.
Okay.
So this is...
Now, when you say Acadiana, define that geographically.
It is Lafayette, Vermilion, St. Landry, St. Martin, Jeff Davis, and Evangeline.
Is Acadia in there?
Acadia and Acadia.
Iberia.
Iberia.
And Iberia.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
right.
It's about eight different parishes, I would say. And so this is the information for March 2024.
Okay.
Because we're still in April, so we won't get that data until next month, right?
Okay.
So just to give you guys some information, new listings are up almost 14%.
Wow. Okay.
Pending sales are up 3.5%, and solds are up 4.5%.
Okay, from the previous month?
From the previous month.
Okay, so
Yeah.
up from the previous month. So it looks like
I apologize. 2024 over 2023.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
This
okay.
is year over year.
Yeah, we'll give you some monthly data in just a minute, or
Okay.
year-to-date data.
And I think what is really exciting is that there is 4.5%, 4.5 months of inventory, not percent, excuse me, months of inventory. So what does that mean? So we like to say that a fully balanced market, buyers and sellers,
Yeah.
is 6 months of inventory. That means if there was not another home that came up on the market, it would take us 4.5 months to clear the inventory that's available. And that is really good news. So we're really approaching that balanced market. It is skewing still slightly a seller's market, but not near as far as we've seen. And of course, keep in mind that all of this is area dependent as well, but this is the overall stats for the entire association, our entire
and this is
area
all
that we
of the
cover.
houses in the MLS.
So this is what we pulled today, just for clarity, is residential detached listings. So that means we're not pulling right now townhouses, apartments, multifamily, condominiums, or commercial. So these are just single
Just a
family
house.
dwellings.
Just
These are
a
just
house.
houses.
Okay.
Yes.
Another piece of good news is the days on market to sell this year over last year. Last year, it was 65 days in March.
Mm-hmm.
This year, it's 68 days. So it's really
not much.
Hardly a difference.
Yeah, right.
Right? So anybody that's telling the public that it's taking a lot longer to sell houses, nope, this is the data.
Mhm.
That's why I love data. Data
Numbers
doesn't
are
lie.
numbers. Yeah, numbers are. Now that was Acadiana. Focus on Lafayette.
All right, so some good news here. This is year to date, by the way. And so what we're looking at is the, not surprising, Youngsville, Broussard area has had the largest number of sales. This is year to date. They've had 160 sales.
Wow.
And the average price, get this, $358,000.
Ooh.
Well, you know that's the hotbed for new construction. So
Right.
new construction, if anybody doesn't already know, it leads the market. It always does, always has, always will,
Mhm.
because that's the newest, bestest, most awesome.
Right.
You know, if anybody went to the Parade of Homes, they saw what's out there.
Some gorgeous
right now.
things. So right here in the middle of Lafayette, what's leading the area, of course, is the right central Lafayette. It's going to be our River Ranch right there in the middle of Lafayette. Our sales price is up to almost $600,000.
Wow.
So between that area, the Greenbrier area, and right up to the edge of downtown, we are pushing the most amount of sales in Lafayette in that area,
Right.
of course. And then our lowest area that is our lowest average sales price is right up north of Lafayette, a little bit to the west, more in that Karen Crow, top of Karen Crow, Austin, almost hitting St. Landry Parish, and we're $232,000. So that's our low end. That in some areas of Karen Crow at $215,000, and then our high end is almost $600,000 in Lafayette. So we run the gamut, which is really good news for people who want to buy and sell in Lafayette and the immediate surrounding areas of the parish, because you can find every price point that you want.
But I think that the data that's available too helps buyers understand where they should be looking. If they are thinking about it, they haven't waded in with a realtor yet. They haven't really, gotten there. They're just looking at the websites, et cetera. This gives them an understanding of where they can afford. I have $300,000 or I have $200,000, wherever it may be. Then they know realistically where they could live for that particular price. Or heck, you want to go up all the way, then have at it. Obviously that pool is a lot bigger.
Correct.
Another important factor is the average sales price. Average sales price last year, $254,000. Average sales price this year, guess how much?
$300,000.
$254,000.
It's the exact same.
It has gone up.
That's
it has gone up.
year to year?
That is
okay.
year over year. That's 2024 over 2023.
And that's in the whole area.
It has literally gone up in Acadiana 0.1%.
Wow.
Now, this is all of the parishes.
Yes.
So obviously we understand that, Lafayette Parish is the hub, but this pulls all of the parishes in the data.
Yep.
That
Interesting.
number.
I want to bring interest rates into the discussion because this morning on Fox News, they did a national perspective on interest rates. The bottom line, this is nationally, it is cheaper to rent than to purchase. And for those who may want to downsize, maybe, it's the empty nest syndrome, the kids are all grown, maybe they want to look at a smaller home. So you're looking at a 3%, if you will, mortgage rate, and then suddenly you want a new home. So now you're looking at 6 and 7+%. So talk about that. People who want to upgrade, downgrade, and then maybe bring in the first-time home buyer, looking at, I don't know what the rate is here in Lafayette, 7%, 7.5%. So just talk about interest rates in a decision pertaining to real estate.
I think it really boils down to this. If you are still happy with your home that you live in and you love your rate and that your home is still serving you and your family, then great. Obviously we love to help people buy and sell, but not just for no reason.
Right.
But there are plenty of people out there that either their home is too large and they're ready to downsize. So yes, they may have a fabulous rate, except for that house isn't serving them anymore. And so they may be downsizing, the rate may be up, but your overall price is going to be lower. Yeah. Some people still need to get a larger home because their family's expanding or they're moving. So rates do matter, but our rates are very much coming back into line to where they were, several years pre-COVID. They're not that outrageous.
Yeah, because what did you say the average rate
and
are
we're
right
seeing
now?
that. Well, it really depends, but
Okay.
we're writing mainly in the 6s, some still in the 7s. And there are a few cases of people getting 5s, but that is very specific circumstances. And so I think that is, we just always encourage people, why are we moving and buying? And for that, we need to find out for a lot of people what they're comfortable for in that monthly price. And at that point, the interest rate, this is very global, right? Not every situation, but at that point, the interest rate really becomes almost a non-factor.
I would also.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would also add that real estate is absolutely local. So for a news report to say blank is cheaper than blank is absolutely crazy, because in Lafayette, Louisiana, the rents are really high. And so
agreed.
And so to buy a home, I would challenge that report in Lafayette or Acadiana by saying that if you are renting, you always must know that you are paying somebody else's mortgage.
Sure.
if you are buying, even if you have to pay a 6 or 7% interest rate, you are paying your own mortgage and building equity. And so that has to be thrown into the mix.
Yeah.
Because that's more valuable to me, owning something or having incremental ownership of something versus paying somebody else's house note.
And you get to pay it off at some point, and then you don't have to rent when you're retired. That's.
Although some people are choosing to do that in retirement because
Really?
of the headache of, that can come with home ownership. So we actually are seeing an increase of people in their retirement years becoming renters because they don't want to take care of it anymore.
No maintenance worries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Quick comment. A couple weeks ago, you brought up a story, Tracy, national story, looking at home cost across the nation. Guess who was one of the lowest? Louisiana.
Yep, it sure
That's
was.
exactly right.
Yep. No kidding. Thank you guys so much. Time flies when you're having fun. Walter Campbell, Deborah Pierce with Keller Williams Real Estate. You got more questions? They'd be happy to answer them. KPEL News Time, 7:51.
Monday warrior, mean strike. Today's Tom Sawyer, mean pride.
KPEL News Time is 7:55 on this Tuesday morning. Tracy Wertz, Mark Pope joining you. It's foggy out there. Please be careful. We've been talking on and off this morning, Mark, about the Lita Job Fair, and as I scroll through the list that we have at our website, it really is heartening that these jobs are available, but it also speaks to you got to get out there and you got to know who's hiring. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's companies on here I didn't even know. I didn't even know they existed. And the interesting thing too is that, and it was up here. Let me scroll. There's some medical facilities that are looking for people in all different concentrations, from a coder to a supply chain courier to, of course, the bedside personnel. And the list is really long. I'm noticing a few of the oil field service companies coming back, which is something that you had seen kind of slack off. And now those are coming back.
Yep.
Home furniture, from customer service to managers to sales representatives to CDL drivers. Check out the list. And when you go, let's say the job fair is at the Cajun Dome today, Mark?
Cajun Dome Convention Center.
Okay.
Yeah, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. I would be there the whole time.
Right.
I'd bring a protein bar to keep me going. I can't imagine 127 employers.
Well, but there are some people saying, I do have a job, but I want to look and see what's available.
Sure.
You can do that. And at our website, there are the links to these companies and to the application process. So you can do that online too. So it's just a thought. If you're a little disheartened that you can't make it out there today, just know that we do have those links on our website for you to check out, well, at your desk or on your phone. KPEL News Time, 7:57.
Business Report is brought to you by Walter Campbell and Deborah Pierce of Keller Williams Realty. For all of your commercial property needs, reach out to Walter and Deborah today.
I'm Stuart Varney, and this is the Fox Business Report.
McDonald's is reporting a mixed quarter. Earnings top forecast, but sales growth slowed. The burger chain is seeing some customers pulling back. It says people have turned more discriminating with every dollar they spend. McDonald's also says it's been impacted by the Middle East war. The stock is losing ground. Coca-Cola shares are higher after an upbeat quarter. Burger King's earnings came in better than expected, and the BK near you may be getting an upgrade. The company plans to invest $300 million in store remodels. 3M is cutting its dividend following the spinoff of its healthcare division on April 1st. GE Healthcare Technologies reported a higher profit, though Wall Street was expecting even better numbers, and GE Healthcare shares are lower. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
The elites want more control through digital currencies in a cashless society. This is Stephen K. Bannon, and I believe gold is the answer to safeguard your wealth, especially if you own your gold inside of a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting SHELTER to 989898. Birch Gold is the only gold company I trust. So text SHELTER to the number 989898 to claim your free info kit today.
Message and data rates.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL, Breaux Bridge, Lafayette, broadcasting from the Matthew James Tax and Wealth Management Studios.
This is a Fox News alert. One protest escalates, others face crackdowns. I'm Dave Anthony.
The people unite.
That's at Yale University in Connecticut, where police showed up and an anti-Israel tent encampment was cleared. Arrests reported at UConn, and protesters have also been taken into custody this morning at the University of North Carolina. At Columbia University in New York City,
The occupation has got to go.
some pro-Palestinian demonstrators took it to another level, taking over a building after midnight.
They brought in metal barricades, really enacted a human shield. The student newspaper, Columbia Spectator, reporting that students broke glass, covered internal cameras, and that they had the building locked down within minutes.
Fox Business Network's Madison Allworth, not far from Hamilton Hall. Fox's Brian Yennis is also there and has a statement just out from the university.
We have asked members of the university community who can avoid coming to the Morningside campus. Access to the campus has been limited to students residing in residential buildings on campus and employees who provide essential services to campus buildings, labs, and residential student life.
Well, those protesters occupying the building keep demanding Columbia divest from Israel, and they want amnesty for their actions. Republican Congressman Mike Lawler tells Fox,
"This is impacting students all across the country, and it needs to stop immediately."
This morning, the U.S. Education Secretary faces questions about all the protests at a Senate hearing. Former President Trump's about to return to court in New York for more testimony this hour at his first criminal trial related to the 2016 election.
Back in the stand will be Gary Farrow. He is Michael Cohen's banker. He set up the show company that Cohen used to pay off Stormy Daniels. Farrow's testimony is designed to start laying out for the jury the financial document trail the DA's office says that backs the 34 charges of Trump filing false business records, all to try and hide his alleged affair with Stormy Daniels.
Fox's Eric Shaw. The former president claims he's being politically persecuted. America's listening to Fox News.
Hey, if you want a firearm that is easy to transport, you got to check out the U.S. Survival Rifle from our friends at Henry Repeating Arms. Now, it is a portable rifle that you can put together, take apart in just minutes. And then when you're not using it, you can store the parts in the little case that it comes in. It's so small you can store it pretty much anywhere, and it's light enough to carry everywhere. Now, it comes in black and 2 different camo patterns, and you can pick one up for $300 to $400 depending on the finish. Check out their videos. Go to their website. It's one word, henryusa.com/survival. And while you're there, make sure you order their free catalog. Now, Henry makes more than 200 rifles and shotguns and revolvers, all made in America, all backed by a lifetime satisfaction guarantee and the best customer service in the business. Go to their website, henryusa.com. Get their free catalog. They'll send you free decals and a list of dealers where you are. That's henryusa.com. Free catalog decals for the Henry U.S. Survival.
Your 24/7 news source, on air, online, and with the KPEL News app. Now the headlines from the KPEL News Center.
Good morning. I'm Tracy Wertz with a look at news on this Tuesday, April 30th. Louisiana is among several states suing the federal government over new Title IX rules. Attorney General Liz Murrill says the new rules will result in transgender women sharing bathrooms, locker rooms, and perhaps even lodging on overnight field trips with biological girls. During a press conference yesterday, Governor Landry announced that, quote, "we will not comply," end quote, and says the lawsuit aims to protect women and women's sports. State Superintendent of Education, Dr. Cade Brumley, has told public schools to disregard the order to implement the revised rules. President Biden's administration has threatened to withhold federal funding for states that don't abide by the new Title IX guidelines. Legislation to hold a constitutional convention beginning May 20th has advanced from the House Appropriations Committee with a 14-6 vote along party lines. Stonewall Representative Larry Bagley has concerns, including costs to the state. The bill's author, Representative Bo Boye of New Iberia, told committee members the convention would likely cost $63,000 if it wraps up by June 3rd, but that number could grow to $1.5 million if it lasts through mid-July. Boyer told the committee that donations could help cover that cost. The House Appropriations Committee also advanced a bill that would raise the driver's license fee by $6 to fund litter abatement. Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser oversees Keep Louisiana Beautiful and says more funding is needed to clean up the state. Currently, $1.50 from license fees goes to litter abatement. Vermilion Parish detectives are trying to identify the body of a man found floating in a canal off West Liberty Farm Road south of Kaplan on Friday. He was sent to a forensics lab to determine how he died, and detectives issued a release Monday requesting that anyone who may have information contact their office. Opelousas High School's state championship title has been reinstated after a hearing on Monday in district court. The school reached an agreement with the LHSAA. The school will keep the trophy, but head coach Jimmy Zachary will remain on probation. Opelousas High was forced to forfeit all its 2023 wins and the championship when the LHSAA ruled they used an ineligible player. A favored Lafayette Sports Hangout is welcoming customers once again. Pete's on Johnston had closed for 8 months after a fire, but renovations are complete. They reopened the doors yesterday. That's a look at your news. I'm Tracy Wirt.
Areas of dense morning fog out there this morning with visibility dropping down below a quarter of a mile at times today. Temperatures should sit in the mid-80s once the fog burns off. We're looking at a bit of sunshine out there in the afternoon. Not much of a breeze out there either. Quiet weather through the middle of the week with a return of showers and thunderstorms arriving through Friday. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
We have an accident at the 900 block of Jefferson Street. That is near its intersection with Lee Avenue. Also, still working that accident on Tolson Road, just north of Bonaire Road. We have an accident Johnston at Douillon and another Johnston at Gilbo. Hopefully those have been moved off the roadway. Current temperature 62 degrees. Good morning and welcome back into Acadiana's Morning News on this Tuesday morning. Tracy Wirtz, Mark Pope. And we're talking still about real estate, kind of, this morning with Randy Olson with Prime Title. And Randy, we started, first of all, good morning.
Good morning.
We started a conversation last week that was really interesting about real estate taxes. And as we followed that thread through, we talked off the air, too, about myth or fact. I can lose my property if I don't pay my taxes.
Fact.
Okay. Ooh, okay. Explain, please.
Well, as we talked about last time, the tax bills come out in typically December, late November, early December. Sometimes they're late, depending every year. But you get your tax bills due by the end of the year. If you don't pay by the end of the year, then interest starts accruing. But you don't lose your property. What happens is the tax collector, which is the sheriff, will send you notices. Okay, or at least they'll send it to the person that they have on their list.
Right.
Sometimes that's not a good address, so you're not getting them, et cetera. They'll send you a notice, then they'll send you basically a threatening letter. They're going to sell your property, and ultimately every year there is a tax sale in typically May of the following year of all the properties that did not get sold. The taxes were not paid. So that those properties are technically, legally sold to a buyer. And you go, there's an auction and you can go bid on the properties. A lot of people do that. So your property from a tax standpoint is now owned by somebody else. Now, legally, from a lawyer standpoint, you've not lost your property.
Okay,
They're not
that's
gonna go
confusing.
You're not going to go kick yourself out. You're not going to kick you out of your home.
Okay.
By law, you have 3 years from that tax sale to redeem the property and pay the taxes, the interest, and the penalties. So really, people can kind of take a little deep breath saying, look, I got 3 years.
Okay.
So the key here is for everybody to understand that. And if you're not absolutely sure you paid your taxes, go online, call the assessor, or go down there and make sure that everything is in your name, they have the right address, and that the taxes are current and paid.
Okay, so I have quite a few questions. Number one is, all right, when you talk about this tax sale, is that the same thing that they call a sheriff's sale?
No.
No. Okay. Okay.
A sheriff sale is when properties are foreclosed upon.
Okay. All right.
That's a different. That's every week. Every Wednesday they have an auction. A bid for that. The tax sale is once a year.
Okay.
And it's a different process.
So if I go to a tax sale and I bid on the property, whatever, and I get it, okay, so it's not mine.
No.
Okay, so what would be the benefit to somebody doing that?
Money. Interest.
Okay.
In year one, if you're a tax buyer,
okay,
and the taxes are not paid for a full year, you will make 18% on your money.
Wow. So that's a lot.
That's a big return.
Yeah.
How much money are we making on our savings accounts?
So if I want to save my property, then I got to pay the penalties, the taxes, the interest, and that includes that 18% that person's going to get.
Right. There's a 6% penalty, like right off the bat, and then 1% a month. So plus 12, that's where 18 comes out.
Let me give you a perspective. I worked for the Environmental Division, Lafayette Consolidated Government, 27 years. Okay, there are local regulations. Your grass cannot be higher than a certain level. You cannot not have a messy property. In other words, tires that collect water, mosquitoes breed, all kind of other debris scattered across your property. The Environmental Division, and this is talking about Lafayette now, will notify you your property is in violation of local ordinance number, blah, blah, blah. Please cut the grass. Please clean your property. You are given multiple notices. If you do not abide by the request, cut the grass, clean the property, then a contractor is hired, sent in to do the work, and a cost is accrued, and then you are sent the bill. If you do not pay the bill, guess what? A lien gets put on your property, which shows up on your property tax bill at the end of the year. This is just for kind of people to know in general knowledge, okay? There have been people that said, I will pay my taxes, but I'm not paying this property lien. I will challenge it legally. If you do that, say your taxes are $1,000, the lien is $300. If you only send in a check for $1,000, the tax collector, which is the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office, returns that check to you, NSF, non-sufficient funds. They will not accept that partial payment. You pay it in full or you do not pay it at all. And then so what happens is then you start accruing those penalties and that interest. So just keep that in mind, folks. When you get that tax bill, if you happen to get a lien on your property, just cut your grass or clean your property and you won't have to deal with that aspect of it.
Yeah.
So what happens if you don't? One of the questions is what happens if you don't pay it in 3 years?
Right.
That's a much bigger problem.
Okay.
One is after 3 years, a tax buyer, there is a legal process to go through to actually get full, complete, clear title to your property. It's not easy. There's a lot of legal issues associated with that is way beyond the scope of this conversation.
Right.
But they can. There is a process to do that, and that's what I said when you asked me that question at the beginning.
Right?
Can you lose it? Yes, you can, but there is some difficulties. On the other flip side is, after 3 years, the tax buyer does not have to just accept the interest, penalties, and taxes and give you your clear title back.
Wow.
They really have you
over a barrel.
Over a barrel.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And they do. And they take advantage. Just a few weeks ago, I had a friend of mine's brother failed to pay the taxes, didn't pay it in the 3-year redemption period. I contacted the tax buyer, and it cost him an additional $15,000.
Whoa. So that person made $15,000 in 3 years.
Over and above
what he was already going to, or he or she.
Interest and penalties that he would have made. He said, I want $15,000 on top of.
Wow.
And this has happened numerous times in the past with me. And I basically tell people, guys, we'll try to negotiate the best we can, but if you want to sell your property or if you want to get it cleared up, and avoid losing your property, you're just going to have to pay what they ask for.
So once they buy that tax, or the tax buyer, I guess I did buy that tax, then you can't. It's not like you can sell it and say, "I want to pay the taxes." Can you?
Well,
or you can.
You call them and say, "What is it going to take?" And that's
because they get to make the rules.
Pretty much.
Wow.
So don't let it go past 3 years.
That's impressive. All right, so I sell my house. We're gonna. I paid my taxes. I've done all that I need to do. Capital gains. That is, to me, an interesting place thing to talk about, because there are stipulations on whether or not you have to pay taxes on it. What is it about capital gains?
Well, yeah, a lot of people don't understand.
Okay.
You hear about capital gains. What is capital gains? In a very simplistic way of describing it, it's basically the gain between what you bought it for and what you sold it for. That's the gain. And then our federal government wants their piece of that. So there's a tax associated with that. So the tax is just around numbers, 20%. So, if you bought your house for $150,000 and you sold it for $250,000 and you made $100,000 capital gains, then if you're subject to capital gains, then you basically have $20,000 that you owe in federal capital gains tax.
Okay.
So there are exceptions to the rule.
Now, can you roll it over to another?
There's different things. Like,
Okay.
for instance, currently, the laws have changed over the 30-plus years I've been doing this. At one point, you had to roll it into another house within 2 years. There's different things. Currently, it's actually pretty nice. If it's under a certain dollar limit, $500,000, and it was your personal residence for over 2 years, and it was never a business or rental for you, then you are exempt from any capital gains.
Really?
Yes.
Regardless of whether or not you roll it over?
That's the key. You don't have to roll it over.
Oh, nice.
So
I did not know that. That is awesome.
Right, absolutely. We, as title attorneys, have to issue a 1099, except in situations where it meets those criteria. We don't even issue a 1099 to those people because they qualify for the exemption. Now, we get a new president in, new Congress, sometimes it changes. So you never know, but right now that's the way it is.
So the federal government makes that decision because it's subject to federal tax.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So capital gains is, and again, I'm not a tax person, so I want to at least tell the listening audience that I'm not trying to give you tax advice. I would always tell people dealing with capital gains and what you should do or not do, talk to your tax advisor. But I do know enough to kind of give people a flavor of what's going on out there so they can understand it enough to maybe ask the right questions.
Well, no, absolutely. And if capital gains has been standing in someone's way and they aren't aware of these new laws or these relatively new laws, then this may be really good news for them.
Absolutely. Now, capital gains, people will think, well, let's say I bought the property. Let's get off of houses because there was an exemption. Let's say it's either building or real estate, and they bought it for $150,000. Let's go with the building. They've owned the building for a long time. They bought it for $200,000.
Okay.
And they've owned it for 10 or 15 years, and they're selling it. Let's say they're selling it for $200,000. Oh, no capital gains, right? Well, maybe not, because most people, when they own a building, commercial building, they take a tax write-off for depreciation. You've probably heard of that.
Yes.
And when you take a tax write-off, that reduces what they call your tax basis from the $200,000 down. So you may still have a gain in that situation. So it's the whole point in me bringing that up is talk to your tax advisor about what kind of gain you may have, even if you're selling it for about what you bought it for.
Because in your experience with this, the capital gains being exempt applies to a personal, like a home, right?
Home. In any real estate. It
Okay.
can,
it does.
Any
Okay.
real estate.
Okay.
It
All
applies.
right.
Unless you have an exemption, which is what we talked about earlier, dealing with your personal primary residence.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was talking about, the exemption. So when you talk about that exemption, I guess I'm confused. If you have a house and I sell it, I'm living in it. It's my house. It's never been rented. Whatever. If I have a gain of up to X dollars, it's exempt.
Okay, I may have misspoke.
I may have misunderstood. That is highly possible.
The exemption doesn't matter about what you sold it for. If you lived in it for 2 years, it was your primary residence and no business or rental, it doesn't matter. What the profit or
Lost. Okay, got it.
That is,
okay.
You're exempt from paying any capital gains tax
Got
in
it.
that situation, but only in that situation.
That is some good information right there. So if you're thinking about selling your house and that was a concern for you, that's really, really good news.
We need to break, or I got time for a question.
You got another question. Yeah, you got time for another
so,
question.
Okay, Ambassador Caffrey, some of the highest costing property, if you will, in Lafayette. So let's assume you've got this piece of property that's been in a family for generations. We're talking over 100 years. I don't know when records began to be kept on the cost of a property, but let's say you don't have a record, that it's just been handed down for generations, and you sell the property for $3 million. Again, prime property on Ambassador Caffrey. How do they determine what that cost was originally, Randy, based on, and then you receive $3 million? How, I don't know if that's, if I'm barking up the wrong tree and asking you that, but how would that be determined what the original cost of that property was?
Well, that would be between them and the CPA that they're dealing with on how to handle, because they're going to get a 1099. If they sell that property for $3 million, they're going to get a 1099 for $3 million. So the CPA is going to need to address how that's to be taxed and what basis they have. They'll have to, the sellers, the owners, would have to provide that CPA with any information they have on the value. Chances are they have little or no tax basis in that property. So they will probably pay gains on that. Now, there is a vehicle, and we may want to, I don't know if we want to continue or not. You want to take a break now?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, there's a vehicle to, at the very least, delay paying capital gains tax. And it's, I don't want to get too in the weeds on it, but it's called a 1031 exchange. I don't know if anybody's heard of that, but it's a process by which you can sell a property, find another property, buy the other property with the money that you used when you sold the property, and avoid paying the capital gains tax at all.
Interesting.
And a lot of people are taking advantage of that because they're looking at paying sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax.
Yeah.
And they're able to avoid paying that.
By simply buying another building. Interesting stuff. Randy, thank you so much. And you know what? Even though I didn't understand, you do make it very easy to understand. So I appreciate it because sometimes my brain doesn't fire right. It was a pleasure. Randy Olson with Prime Title, an attorney there, has been in business for over 30 years. And if you have a question for him, some of this was very enlightening this morning. Please let us know and we'll pass that along to him. Randy, thanks so much and have a great day.
Thank you, Trace.
KPEL News Time 8:24.
Partly to mostly sunny skies across Acadiana today. Temperatures going to be sitting in the mid-80s. Will probably be about 85 degrees for that high. Not much of a breeze out there from the south at about 5 miles an hour. Overnight lows in the mid to upper 60s. Low 70s the rest of the week. It is going to be a bit warmer here over the next couple of days. Bit of cloud buildup as well as we go through the middle of parts of the week, with showers and thunderstorms returning on Friday. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
All right. We are showing a vehicle fire, the 3600 block of Ambassador Caffrey Parkway. That is in the area of the mall. Hopefully that's not as bad as it sounds. Still working that accident, Johnston and Dooyaw. Now working an accident, still Lee Avenue in that area of Jefferson Street. So be careful there. Current temperature 62 degrees. KPEL News Time is 8:27 on this Tuesday morning. It's April 30th, the very last day of April. And Mark, on Thursday, big day. It's Sola Giving Day. And I bring this up for a few reasons. Number one, there are so many different organizations across from Acadiana to Southwest Louisiana that really do all kinds of work to get the word out that they're participating in Solar Giving Day. You go to solargivingday.org. You can see all of those organizations from Boys and Girls Clubs of Acadiana to The Current, which is a local publication. Lafayette Parish School System has an account with Community Foundation who facilitates Solar Giving Day. And there are matching funds for some of these organizations. So, for instance, Boys and Girls Clubs of Acadiana, because I'm very involved with those guys, there's a $25,000 match.
Mhm.
So if they are able to raise a full $25,000, this particular group, philanthropic organization, foundation, and / will match whatever dollars they get up to that $25,000. And they aren't the only ones. There are several match opportunities. So you might want to go through, see what organizations are there. And this, I love Solar Giving Day because whether you can give $5 or $5,000, you can help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's so easy. Solar, S-O-L-A, solargivingday.org. I am on the site now.
Mm-hmm.
And then you click organizations. There's some great ones, you know.
yeah.
Boys and Girls Club, a great organization. Look, I'm just going to read the first 6 that popped up.
Okay.
232 Help,
Mm-hmm.
a pregnancy center and clinic,
Mm-hmm.
Abby's Acre. I can't look it up. You can you click on View. And Acadian Middle School, Acadian Animal Aid, one of our favorites, Acadiana Center for the Arts. And there, I don't know if I don't know how many there are, Tracy.
Oh,
I know there are dozens.
Oh, yeah. So, and
maybe
what you
over
can
100.
do, I think there, is you can search by your particular area of interest. So if you want to help children, it'll pull up all of the organizations that whose focus is children in some way, shape, or form. If it's domestic violence, if it's school systems, so you can actually sort. So don't become overwhelmed when you open it, because again, they do categorize these particular organizations. But again, don't feel like, man, I really would like to help. I just don't have a lot of money. You are the person we want for Solar Giving Day.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because everybody, I keep coming back to Danny Thomas, who founded St. Jude. My favorite quotes of his, I'd rather 1 million people give $1 than one person give 1 million, so that everyone feels like they've been a part of the success of this organization.
Sure.
And this is absolutely where you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep. And you can click the matches. I clicked on matches. And it shows you all the organizations where a match is available. So, yeah, and they can give today, Tracy, even though Solar Giving Day is Thursday, May 2nd. You can go right now and donate. And you can contribute after Thursday, May 2nd.
Right.
So it's kind of an ongoing project, thanks to Community Foundation of Acadiana, who spearheads Solar Giving Day.
Yeah. KPEL News Time is 8:31.
KPEL covers Acadiana with Lowry's Printing and Copying.
The 27th Annual Sunset Urban Garden Festival is Saturday, May 4th, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Marie Street in Sunset. That's across from the old Sunset High School. Native plants and flowers, ferns and tropicals, vegetables and herbs. There's educational opportunities, over 100 vendors, and children's activities. Also, Le Jardin des Enfants, the children's garden. Get more details, call Susie Brunet at 337-322-0129. The Lafayette Genealogical Society has Genealogy 101, a free workshop and roundtable Saturday, May 4th, beginning at 9:30 a.m. at the Lafayette Public Library in downtown Lafayette. Learn all about genealogy and ask your questions and meet other people with an interest in genealogy. To find out about more meetings, go to lalgs.org.
This hour brought to you by Matthew James Tax and Wealth Management. Online at MatthewJames.com.
Your 24/7 news source, on air, online, and with the KPEL News app. Now the headlines from the KPEL News Center.
Good morning. I'm Tracy Wertz with a look at news on this Tuesday, April 30th. Louisiana is among several states suing the federal government over new Title IX rules. Attorney General Liz Murrill says the new rules will result in transgender women sharing bathrooms, locker rooms, and perhaps even lodging on overnight field trips with biological girls. During a press conference yesterday, Governor Landry announced that, quote, "we will not comply," end quote, and says the lawsuit aims to protect women and women's sports. State Superintendent of Education, Dr. Cade Brumley, has told public schools to disregard the order to implement the revised rules. President Biden's administration has threatened to withhold federal funding for states that don't abide by the new Title IX guidelines. Legislation to hold a constitutional convention beginning May 20th has advanced from the House Appropriations Committee with a 14-6 vote along party lines. Stonewall Representative Larry Bagley has concerns, including costs to the state. The bill's author, Representative Bo Boye of New Iberia, told committee members the convention would likely cost $63,000 if it wraps up by June 3rd, but that number could grow to $1.5 million if it lasts through mid-July. Boye told the committee that donations could help cover that cost. The House Appropriations Committee also advanced a bill that would raise the driver's license fee by $6 to fund litter abatement. Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser oversees Keep Louisiana Beautiful and says more funding is needed to clean up the state. Currently, $1.50 from license fees goes to litter abatement. Vermilion Parish detectives are trying to identify the body of a man found floating in a canal off West Liberty Farm Road south of Kaplan on Friday. He was sent to a forensics lab to determine how he died, and detectives issued a release Monday requesting that anyone who may have information contact their office. Opelousas High School's state championship title has been reinstated after a hearing on Monday in district court. The school reached an agreement with the LHSAA. The school will keep the trophy, but head coach Jimmy Zachary will remain on probation. Opelousas High was forced to forfeit all its 2023 wins and the championship when the LHSAA ruled they used an ineligible player. An Acadia Parish inmate is charged with felony carnal knowledge of a juvenile and self-mutilation after confessing to a crime that happened in 2013. 36-year-old Dirk Daigle of Church Point then tried to hurt himself because, according to officials, he wanted to move to the medical facility. The attempt was caught on video. No further details have been released in the case. A favored Lafayette Sports Hangout is welcoming customers once again. Pete's on Johnston had closed for 8 months after a fire, but renovations are complete. They reopened the doors yesterday. Customers with the St. Martin Parish Industrial Water Plant are under a boil advisory until further notice. Those customers are mainly in the Catahoula area. The village of Mermentau is also under a boil advisory due to low pressure in the system. Louisiana is one step closer to its first Buc-ee's. The city of Ruston signed a memorandum of understanding Friday detailing the required infrastructure needed. Ruston Mayor Ronnie Walker expressed excitement as the project that has been in the planning stages for 14 months moves forward. Buc-ee's is expected to bring in 15,000 vehicles to stop in the parish daily. The new location should be open sometime next year. That's a look at your news. I'm Tracy.
Areas of dense morning fog out there this morning with visibility dropping down below a quarter of a mile at times today. Temperatures should sit in the mid-80s once the fog burns off. We're looking at a bit of sunshine out there in the afternoon. Not much of a breeze out there either. Quiet weather through the middle of the week with a return of showers and thunderstorms arriving through Friday. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
Bonaire Road at Milton Road. An accident just showing up on the board this morning. Still showing that vehicle fire, the 3600 block of Ambassador Caffrey. Johnston Street at Douillon and downtown Lafayette. Lee Avenue near its intersection with Jefferson. So be careful in those areas. Fog is finally burning off this morning. Be careful, though, if you hit a patch where it's thick. It can be very disorienting. Current temperature, 62 degrees. KPEL News time is 8:41 on this Tuesday, April the 30th, very last day of April. We start a new month. April showers bring May flowers. Hopefully we have a lot of flowers next month.
Yep.
legislature continues to work through their agendas. And, you know, Mark, I've laughed a few times because I try to go through the Daily Digest, that's what it's called in the Senate, and the Order of the Day, that's what it's called in the House. And it is so confusing because just when I think, oh, they're going to do something about it, they're going to vote, not necessarily. And this is what I mean. In the Senate, House bills on second reading to be referred. Senate bills reported by committee. House bills reported by committee. Senate bills, third reading and final passage. Senate bills, third reading and final passage subject to call. I took physics. I mean, not physics, civics, but this is confusing to me.
You need physics.
Yeah, I know.
It's like a doggone scientific formula. You know,
yes, it's true. Thank you.
Would be helpful on this, and maybe we as news folks could let the legislature know a glossary of terms.
Yeah.
Whereby they define what a, quote, second reading means.
And they may have, I have not been able to find that. I've Googled some of them, but that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, because again, because they're using these terms repetitively. Mm-hmm. And I've heard, and when I've looked at it, I feel the same frustration you do. It's like, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, a glossary of terms would help resolve a lot of those confusion issues.
Right. No, and it's absolutely true. And they do a good job, if you know a bill's number, of noting where it is in that process. Mm-hmm. But to me, where it gets confusing is when you look at, like, for instance, let's say this one, okay? When you click on the bill's number, it pulls it up, and it says pending House floor action. Well, we know it's on the House's agenda, right? Mm-hmm. But that particular bill, and I just clicked on one, House bills on second reading reported by committee. Okay, it's on the House, it's in the House, the full chamber. Mm-hmm. But like, where is it? What does that mean in terms of the process? And that's where it gets really confusing. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to figure that out. What we do know right now, though, as you heard in the news, are a couple things that have moved out of committee. One of them being the bill by New Iberia Representative Bo Boye for the Constitutional Convention. It went to the House Appropriations Committee, which basically looks at how much it's going to cost. And a representative from Stonewall, his name is Larry Bagley, was concerned about the cost. And Bo Boye said that they estimate that it will cost about $63,000 if it wraps up by June 3rd, but that price could go up to $1.5 million if it lasts through mid-July. The comment or the statement that was made in the news and that I've been following is that donations could help cover the cost. I would assume, do you know anything about that? Because I'm wondering if it's from organizations, if it would be from corporations, if some of these representatives and senators have money in their war chest, their election or their campaign war chest, if they can, I don't know.
Yeah. I neither me.
Yeah.
And part of the criticism about a constitutional convention is you get too many, quote, interest groups,
right,
that get involved in the process, and they want this and they want that, and sometimes lobbying has an undue influence on those people that we elect to represent us. So I don't know. I'm not analyzing that. I'm not making a statement here. I'm just repeating something I've heard from many other sources. I worry about those special interest groups.
Well, and maybe I'm too cynical. I worry that on its face, they say, well, it's just about moving amendments to state statute to shorten our Constitution. Sounds great, but I don't know what else they can do in there. Mm-hmm. And that has been some of the concerns that I've seen coming from some legislators.
Yeah.
What exactly does that look like? What does that mean? Because it sounds really simple. Mm-hmm. Is there more to the story? And I think that hopefully we will get that, because there have been some representatives who have said just that.
Yeah.
We want to know what the agenda looks like.
Yep. And here's something to consider. When you look at the last, if you will, constitutional convention, that constitution that we're living under now, I always try to get multiple sources, not just go to one source and, yes, this is the end-all, know-all source. No, go to multiple sources. You will see, Tracy, everything from began in 1973 to the time it was officially implemented, which I believe was January 1st, 1975. So that is nearly a 2-year process. And I can't see doing this in a month's time. It's going to take some study, some revision, some more study, some more revision. It's a process. If we're going to do it, let's do it right.
No, and that has been something that has been in the back of my brain too. I'm very concerned about that, and I think that I'll feel more comfortable, to that representative's point, once we all see, okay, what exactly is this going to involve? So we'll keep you updated as we get more information about the pending constitutional convention. KPEL News Time, 8:48. The Rustic Renegade is your one-stop shop in Lafayette for firearms, concealment furniture, men's grooming products, and our locally roasted coffee.
Partly to mostly sunny skies across Acadiana today. Temperatures going to be sitting in the mid-80s. Will probably be about 85 degrees for that high. Not much of a breeze out there from the south at about 5 miles an hour. Overnight lows in the mid to upper 60s. Low 70s the rest of the week. It is going to be a bit warmer here over the next couple of days. Bit of cloud buildup as well as we go through the middle of parts of the week, with showers and thunderstorms returning on Friday. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
Accident Gilbo and Congress Street. And still working that accident, Bonan Road and Milton Road in Youngsville. Be careful out there. Current temperature, 62 degrees. Mark and I chair dancing on this Tuesday morning, having some fun with the bumpers this morning. KPEL News Time is 8:52 on this Tuesday, April 30th. And another piece of legislation that came out of the House Appropriations Committee yesterday was a request by Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser in his office that would raise the driver's license fee by $6 to fund litter abatement. The Lieutenant Governor's office oversees the Keep Louisiana Beautiful project. And unfortunately, it's very much needed, Mark. You certainly know that firsthand.
Yeah, and being in the environmental division. Back on just this month, on the 20th, it was the Spring Festival at Moncus Park, but it was also Parish Proud. It did a litter cleanup in conjunction with the Bayou Vermilion District and the Lafayette Consolidated Government Environmental Division.
I don't know where you keep all that in your brain.
Well, and I worked with the Environmental Division for 27 years. Look, I despise litter with a passion. Why don't you tell us about the bill that Lieutenant Governor Nungesser is proposing?
Well, it's just to add $6 to the cost of a driver's license. So when you go to, right now, $1.50 from the driver's license fees goes to litter abatement in the state. The request is that $6 be added to that, so that $7.50 would then go to litter abatement, which again I think is overseen by the Keep Louisiana Beautiful organization, affiliate of the governor's. It's an affiliate of Keep America Beautiful.
That's right. Keep America Beautiful.
But it is all under the auspices of the Lieutenant Governor's office.
Keep Louisiana Beautiful. Lafayette is an affiliate. So are other towns around us. Abbeville, I do believe New Iberia. So here's my quick story, Tracy, as to why, what's the big deal? Mark, little litter, it's going to wash into the ditch and in the storm drain. That's the issue. If you went and looked yesterday after that heavy rain, you would see buku. I say buku litter floating on the river. Why? Because all that litter that was in ditches and in storm drains with the heavy rain got pushed into the Bayou Vermilion. It's unsightly. It can cause drainage problems. But look, here's my quick story, all right? Toyota Motor Company was looking years ago, back in 2006, was looking at locating an assembly plant. By the way, that plant right now, still in existence in Blue Springs, Mississippi, around Tupelo. Well, a Louisiana city was in the running. And as I tell this story, this is why there are other benefits. There are economic benefits where we get hurt because of our litter issue. So the Toyota executives are going around city to city on the short list looking at the city, and they fly into West Monroe. That was an area proposed for the Toyota plant. And a state official was there to greet them, and they're driving to the plant. And the Toyota executives turn to, it was Senator Robert Barham, and say, Senator, we just as soon turn around and go back to the airport. And he goes, well, what are you talking about? We hadn't made it to the plant. It's a great, new, wonderful, modern plant. He said, no, sir. Toyota executive said, no, sir, we're not locating a plant here. This is the trashiest place we've seen.
Yeah.
How can we trust that people who can do this to their community are going to take pride in their work and are going to properly assemble our cars? We cannot make that leap of faith. And so for that reason, West Monroe is not going to get the plant. They made the decision right there based on the optics of the roadside in West Monroe being highly littered. That's a crying shame.
You mentioned waterways and roadways. The litter removed from those, the waterways and roadways, according to a 2022-23 report from Keep Louisiana Beautiful, 743 tons. In 1 year. Hazardous waste diverted from landfills, 458 tons. The list goes on and on. So when you see this bill, just know that it costs money to do all this. Yes, they utilize volunteers, but it obviously is going to take more than just what they're getting now. KBEL News Time is 6:57. Thank you for joining us and have a great day.
The Fox Business Report is brought to you by Gulf Coast Bank, your local community bank. Whether your financial needs are for an individual, a business, or for the whole family, Gulf Coast Bank has the knowledge and products to serve you best. With 9 convenient locations throughout Acadiana, you're never far from a friendly Gulf Coast Bank associate.
I'm Susan Lee, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks are losing ground on the employment cost index, rising 1.2% in the first quarter. It's a sign companies are paying more for their staff. The increase is the largest in a year and a half. McDonald's shares are losing ground after its first disappointing quarter in more than 2 years. Its sales growth came in weaker than Wall Street was expecting. Chief Executive Chris Kempczinski says consumers are more discriminating with every dollar they spend. McDonald's also has been impacted by the Middle East conflict and China's slower recovery. Coca-Cola reported an upbeat quarter, and its earnings and revenue both topped expectations. The Federal Reserve is meeting today and tomorrow. Amazon reports earnings after the Wall Street close. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda, invested in you.
The elites want more control through digital currencies in a cashless society. This is Stephen K. Bannon, and I believe gold is the answer to safeguard your wealth, especially if you own your gold inside of a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting SHELTER to 989898. Birch Gold is the only gold company I trust, so text SHELTER to the number 989898 to claim your free info kit today.